Oblast with Don and Kevin is a show where we share opinions and interviews about topics that interest us. We generalize a lot, and we do realize that some of the topics we touch on, there are people on the fringes that are not part of the group we are generalizing. In order to spare the listeners having to hear us constantly caveat our conversations to recognize that there are other groups and opinions out there, this is our blanket statement stating just that. We know. Also, we are not on any side. We are not left, right, good, evil, up or down. The purpose of the show is to both provide entertainment and also to expose you to new ideas and opinions to cause you to think, research, and form your own opinions that you can share with others. We very much thank you for listening. June 28th, 2021. You're listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Don.
All right, here we are again. Here we are again. Let me
Here we go again.
Let me bring up the email. See if we got any, because I always forget to do it. And this show has way less prep than the old VGN show. Like, I don't even look at my email. Just like,
listen, do we really need to prep? Like, it's just you and me. And for the most part, it'd just be like, "Hey, dude, did you try the ice cream over at so and so?" And then next thing you know, it's like 2 hours later.
You're right. It's just that
it's just easy.
Yeah. Although I do like to have like a theme for the show of some sort.
Yeah.
Something.
Everybody knows our theme is comic books, ice cream, and video games. It's pretty much all we know. It's all we do.
Yeah, so we have a couple people that want to do interviews, but Eric and Kevin, and guys, if you're listening to the show, I will get back to you on that. I think I've mentioned we definitely still want to do interviews. I mean, that's part of this whole thing, and that's what we do. It's just been I've been a little bit crushed lately because basically in my day job, I work at a bank. And not like as a bank teller. Could you imagine me as a bank teller?
Oh, God. Can I help the next in line? Yes, I want to change in these quarters. Oh, for fuck's sake. Get out of here.
I wouldn't last. I'd look like a corpse coming into where I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'll help you. But I work in tech at a bank. And we're in charge of this big program. And I lead a team that deals with that program. And basically, because it's a bank, what happens is there's another team called audit, right? And what they do is they look at all of your policies and procedures, and they, try to look for holes. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to look for things that could be a risk to the bank, or something that you're just doing wrong. And they're not trying to bust you. You know what I mean? But they're more like trying to make sure that your processes are right, and then if they're not, they're going to come up with that you have to address these problems. And then they have like some monitoring that goes into it that you have to sort of do for like a year, basically, to make sure that you're following through on, preparing these policies. So you don't really want them to find a problem with what you're doing, because you don't want to have them create new stuff for you and then have to follow up with them for a year with it. So anyway, every couple of years, they come to a particular department, and this time they're coming to ours. And so we're getting audited right now. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean like the IRS is auditing us or something. It's just that the internal company audit is auditing us. And so it's a lot more work right now. It's just one of those things. Like there's just, I think the last major meeting happened today. But then there's these sort of one-off meetings where they want to see something more in particular going on. That's a bit more like less people. Like instead of having like 40 people on like one call, you might just be like with like, less than 10 or something. So there might be a couple more of those. And then once this kind of eases off, then, then I'll have a little bit more time after work to kind of like think things through. It's just been a little bit crazy right now because of that. So that's where I'm at. I just want you to know, we're going to get to you. So, absolutely. And I, if anybody else wants to get interviewed, on the show, absolutely, we'll get you scheduled in. It'll be oblast at vgn.us. That's video game news. Oblast at vgn.us.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit of a shorter show this week. It won't be that much shorter, but it's going to be a little bit shorter. I have a hard stop at 9:50. Don and I tend to start recording at about 9 p.m. And and I did recently post up 2 shows that we had recently done, so those are now in the slot. The most recent one is for Patreons only, and then the show that'll appear next week will be for everyone. And if you want to be a patron of the show, definitely check out our Patreon at patreon.com/VGN. It's $2 a month. That helps pay for the server costs, and you get all the shows and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Speaking of which, I should have a couple more diaries or tales for you by next week. So
awesome. That'll be cool. Those are fun. So did you see that thing about that building that collapsed in Miami or whatever?
I caught a little bit of it earlier today, like at 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever. I turned the TV on and they were like, building collapse in, is it Miami, you say?
I don't know. Yeah, it's Florida somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere in Florida. They're like, a building collapse or partial building collapse. And I kind of watched it and they were like, and they're digging through the rubble. And I was like, well, I'll just come back to this.
Yeah, it's like 150 people missing. Like they're at home at night. And the building just like the front of the building just like collapsed. Yeah.
Instead of like pancaked, it just went straight. Like, I guess that means it just went straight down.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. And a whole bunch of people died. I mean, so far they've only found, like, as of this moment that I'm aware of, they found like 9 bodies, but there's like 150 people missing, so they're probably going to find more underneath all that rubble. But it's fucked up, man. You're just at home, just like sleeping, or maybe like you're watching a movie and shit. And then you're just like, oh, you're just
all of a sudden you're just like, what's that noise? Why is the building
fuck, and then you're under all this you're dead basically, but you're under all this rubble and shit, just like that, Yeah. It's like that guy that I was talking to Lisa about this too, and she mentioned sinkholes. It's like, you ever heard about that guy that was like in his bedroom or something, and then like some sinkhole like swallowed him up, and his brother, I think, or something, was home, and like he went into the room, and like his brother was just gone. It's just like there was a sinkhole. And
just a hole.
And then like his brother was in it, like gone, like couldn't get him or nothing.
Ugh.
That's that's scary shit. Like that's a terrible way to fucking kick it, man. No thanks.
Yeah.
Like, just real random shit. Like if you get up to like the pearly gates or whatever it is one day, and you're just like, you're gonna have to explain this to me because I don't understand what I did.
Tell me how this was my plan. Like
just really. I mean, I know there was a little bit of a water leak, but I had no idea this was the fucking situation with being getting swallowed up by a fucking hole, or
I need somebody to explain this.
A building collapse on me or something, and that's fucking awful. I think like if you're a shitty landlord, right? Like you don't want to pay to get shit fixed. Okay, right. You don't want to like fix the rug, or you don't want to paint the wall or whatever because you're cheap. But if it's dangerous, if it's
structural,
right? You should fucking tell people and evacuate the building. If they find out. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's starting to lean that way a little bit. And like, if that is what happened, like whoever was responsible needs to go to jail forever, basically. Because I mean, that's ridiculous. Like if you knew that was unsafe,
Well, that's just like the Westbury. Remember, the Westbury over there by the mall. I guess the owners of that place and for those people who don't know, this is like a 19-story apartment complex.
Yeah, just real quick, let me add to that. It's really weird. Like, most suburbs, if you're in like a normal suburb, it's just like houses, and then you have like sort of these 1, 2, maybe 3 level apartment complexes. But for some reason in North Olmsted, where Don and I grew up, there's 2 tall, like, apartment complexes that you would see like in a major city kind of thing, like Don just said, like 20 floors and stuff. Like
it's like different strokes building.
Yeah, or like really odd that it's in the middle of a suburb, but they were apartments, and that's just how it was out here.
Surrounding the mall.
Yeah, right next to the mall. Yeah.
For all the mall employees. But they ran into problems because the owners of that place were neglectful about all the stuff on their building.
Oh, were they really?
I read an article a couple of weeks ago. I know it's weird that I read an article, but I was like, that's
about the Westbury. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in there so many, my keys are probably still at the bottom of that elevator shaft somewhere. So,
Would you
But
drop them down there or something?
yeah, I was spinning them on my hand like a dummy, like on my finger, and they just flew off, and I just watched them slide across the floor right down into the crack. The door was shut.
That's some bad luck right there, man. Was that your car keys? Or
everything. Car keys, house keys, whole key ring, the whole thing.
Oh, no, man.
Yeah. And it's just that slow motion where it's just going, sliding towards the thing, and you're like, please stop, please stop, please stop. And because you ain't going to get to it. You're just like, come on. And it just goes shink right over the side. And the door shut, and I could hear it. I can hear him clink, 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 clink,
oh, no.
And then when I opened the door at the bottom, I looked down through the hole and I could see him sitting there.
Really? Could you?
But it was like 6-7 feet down. You know what I mean? There's a lot of room underneath.
Yeah, there's a elevators. Whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I was just like looking at him like I got nothing. There's no coat hanger long enough for this,
right?
So
I'm
gonna stand there holding the door open with my foot, the elevator door.
That's also just dangerous in general. If you're fucking around with any of that. Yeah,
exactly. So, but anyways, they weren't doing stuff. Bricks started falling off the building, like stuff. Just you know what I mean, like outside, like people were just walking down the street, and all of a sudden, crash! Just like a brick comes down in front of them. They're like, "What the?" Is like the building just is falling apart. Now they're like. It's like a couple $1 million renovation to this whole building. And it's just like, I guess that's good, but that's like we're saying, that's all superficial. That's all, walls, brickwork, doorways, stuff like that. Well, what's the structure like? You know what I mean? Like, hell, hold on a second here.
Yeah. Was it your dad's friend or something, or that got hit by the best sign? Was that
you got hit by the T.
He walked out of Best department store.
Not Best Buy.
Not Best Buy. It was just called Best. And there was like
a catalog store.
It had a big sign on the top, and of letters. And what happened? It just fell when he walked out and hit him in the arm or something.
First of all, let's just when you're looking at this, when you're looking at the sign on the building, it says Best. BEST, and it's all every light's a separate letter, like each one, and the B is the smallest, the E is bigger, the S is bigger than that, and the T is the biggest. And this dude walked out and like stopped on the sidewalk, was just like looking at his keys or whatever, fumbling with something or trying to get something, and the T fell off and hit him, just like, like didn't kill him or nothing like that. But
that's a bad luck, man. That's like what's that movie? Where like all that bad shit happens to the kids or whatever, they're trying to get away, but they're like, the
Final Destination.
Yeah, Final Destination. Right. It's totally some Final Destination shit.
Right. It's like the biggest letter out of all four of them came down and hit you where you were standing. That's just,
so bizarre. Like, how does that even happen? Like, how does the letter fall off? It's mounted on there, it's not glued or something. It's like, it's crazy.
I've seen some construction work that'll make you go.
I get it. Well, and that's, that's something I've always kind of wondered about. Like, I know they, in a normal building, like it gets inspected and everything. I get all that, but like, doesn't structures just get weak after a while? Like the Empire State Building, for instance, it's been there for a long time, right? Same with like the Chrysler Building and other really old buildings. Like does the steel eventually just get tired? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. No, it's just forever. You could just have it up there. And I know there can be corrosion and shit, but like if it's just well maintained, it's
bricks.
Just going to be forever.
Bricks can deteriorate.
Yeah.
Right. Roxy Road. Yeah, like old castles. Look at the old castles that still stand. That's just based on gravity is what it is. That's how they.
Yeah, stone, I guess, is weird. But I imagine the mortar probably doesn't necessarily. The mortar.
Yeah, that'll disappear. That'll fall out. That'll crack and that'll come out and stuff. But steel is just steel. Unless you're like. Unless you've got like, I don't know, a soup, like if you put a piece of steel out, it's all engineered building wise.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
You know what I mean? So it's like all the weight's displaced and everything's figured out to like, if I have a post every 3 feet or if I have something every so many yards or whatever, everything will be, it's just science. I don't know.
Yeah. You know how it is. Like if you have like a thin piece of metal in your hand, you bend it, and you bend it up and down a few times and then it's going to snap. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I mean, at like the microscopic level, you know, if the stress on the metal is like constantly being like applied, like, wouldn't that metal eventually get weak? I mean, and I'm not an engineer, so
Horizontally.
I mean, the buildings are still standing, so I realize that they're going to stand, but I'm just wondering if, like, are they going to be there 500 years from now? Or is there at some point where, like, the engineer is going to be like, yeah, that's it. That's it, guys.
Yeah.
Building's got to go, you know?
Like the doctor fixed my back when the doctor put the surgery on my back. He was like, you got about 15 years. And I was like, okay, great. So structurally, I'm not that sound.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, it's steel up and down vertically can hold forever.
Yeah.
It's the horizontal one that bends. You know what I mean? After.
Yeah. Well, then again, it's like,
years. You know?
Do elevator cables last forever? Like, that's always something that was always in my mind. Like what happens when that elevator cable snaps when it's old and rusty? You know, am I going to be like, go down the elevator shaft and crash into the bottom? But I actually read all about elevators. Like, elevators are super safe. Like, if you're ever paranoid about elevators, don't be. I mean, yes, you'll read in the news about an occasional thing, but the actual the free fall to your death kind of thing, extremely rare. I mean, it happened in 9/11, right? Because a plane fucking smashed into the building. Right. And there was in Chicago, I may have mentioned this on a previous show at one point, but in Chicago, I don't know if it was in the tallest building there. What's it called now? The Williams I don't even know what they call it anymore. It used to be the Sears Tower. Yeah. And then they changed to Williams Tower or something. I don't know if it's still that, but, and I don't even know if it was in that building, but it was a high building and the cable snapped somewhere around the 100th. They were up at the 100th floor and, there's like actually like 5 cables or something on an elevator. So I don't know how that happened. Right. But it snapped and they plunged, and elevators have a gravity brake. So like, you know, even if it's like no electricity, no nothing, the gravity brake kicks on and it starts the you know, clack, 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 and it catches you. And it was something like they had stopped on like the 11th floor. And they said they didn't even realize they had fallen like that far. Like, it didn't feel like that to them. But it's like, that's fucking crazy, you know, to go from like 100 down to the 11th floor. Like, if it was like a glass elevator or something, like you could see out of it. Yeah.
It's like the demon drop.
There'd be shit all over the glass because I would crap my fucking pants doing that.
No because you're going so fast, there's no gravity, so it just float around.
And then I read like one guy, or no, it was like 2 different things, but like at the bottom of an elevator shaft, there's usually like a piston of some kind, right? So if the elevator hits, like, look, if it's coming from the 100th floor and it's going straight down and it hits, you're done, you know? But if you're like maybe on like the 10th or the 15th floor and you hit that piston, you might break some bones, but you're probably going to be all right. And then like, another one where I read, these are very, very rare, by the way. A cable had snapped, and because the cable fell before the elevator hit all of that spooled up wire at the end. And the guy that was in it survived. I don't think he was feeling too good, but he made it, you know. But it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare for an elevator. But there are those scenarios where the doors open and the people walk in and plunge to their death. And I always wonder, like, what are you... Like with cell phones now, I could kind of understand people doing it. But back in the day, I was like, what are you doing? Where like the elevator opens up and you're just walking. You don't even know, like, you know, and you're like, you know, and you go down you plunge to it. Like, pay attention. Like, that's fucked up. Like, I don't
like, aren't you looking for somebody coming out of the elevator? Because usually that's what it is. Like,
that's true.
People crowd the door and then they got to back up because there's people coming out because they're like, oh, I didn't even think.
Yeah, you would follow a crowd in or something, you know, like that, you know. But then they'd all be going over like, and you'd be like going with them,
sheep.
Yeah, bunch of lemmings. But it's just that's so fucked up. I feel bad for all those people, and because that's just such a random fucking way to go. Like, if you're, you know, if you die in a car accident or something and you didn't like, and it was your fault or something, it's okay. But this is like, you're at home. You know what I mean? You're in bed. You're
minding your own business.
You're minding your own business, living your life, and fucking building collapses. That's just fucked up. I don't know. You know, the other thing going on in the news, since we're talking about the news anyway,
Okay.
and I was thinking about this today a little bit, was
Oh, boy.
you know, every day,
Mhm.
just about every day, I ask Alexa, right? Because I got that thing. I ask Alexa to just tell me the news, right? So I hear the news report podcast kind of thing being played while I'm like, fixing my lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
And every day, just about every day of my life, all I hear about on the news is something about Iran, right? Like Iran is, not nuclear. Iran's this, Iran that. Like my whole life has been like Iran has been like an asshole, like to the United States, and the United States has been an asshole to Iran. And I have nothing against Iranians, by the way. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like people don't. I'm not talking about people. I'm just saying like governments back and forth. It just seems like this shit has been going on forever. Like North Korea, you hear about North Korea once every 3 or 4 months. Kim Jong-il or Un or whatever, he shoots a rocket off or something, he rubs some poison oil on somebody's face in an airport. Where the fuck that guy's doing? But you only hear about it once every 3 or 4. Every day Iran up to no good. Like just, according to us or whatever. Like every day. Like, and it's just, it's, I just find it weird, like in such a thing, because it's like, we're this powerful nation. We go in and invade all kinds of people and stuff. But for some reason, we just don't fuck around with Iran. Like, I don't, we do, but we don't. Like, we don't want to have a war with them, but we'll have a war with like everybody else. But we just won't with like Iran is just like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, I don't want to have a war. Like, don't get me. I don't think we should go in and do anything. And in fact, I understand the history of Iran. Like, kind of interesting in a way, because they were they had a like a king. You know what I mean? But they got rid of him, and that was like the Shah of Iran, basically. And they got rid of him. And they put in a democratically elected government, right? That was a sort of a peaceful type of government. And the I forget that guy's name, but that leader decided that he was going to nationalize the oil, right? Which means basically they were going to own the oil, right? Like instead of it being owned by like British Petroleum, which I think is who owned it at the time, they were going to, Iran was going to own their own oil. Right? It's their oil. It's their country, and so I don't know how accurate all this is, but it's pretty accurate. Okay. In the sense of that the United States basically, I think it was under Eisenhower or something at that point, had just been like, we just like assassinated that guy and we put the Shah back into power. So we put the king, instead of having the democratically elected guy, we put the dictator back into power.
Yeah.
And because of the oil situation over there for the British, actually, because it's not even American oil. And the Shah of Iran was like sort of a brutal dictator. Again, people will tell you different things, whatever. But, the way the story goes. And so the people of Iran, like, were dealing with this like brutality and everything, and this now hatred of the United States for fucking up their peaceful government. And so they leaned over, in order to get rid of this guy, they leaned way over to the hardliners, and that's where you ended up with that whole Ayatollah Khomeini and all that kind of stuff, who kind of came and they got rid of the Shah. The Shah had to flee. And then, you ended up with this weird thing that Iran is now, because it's, the most powerful person in Iran is their religious leader, right? But he's not the president, right? They elect a president. You vote for the president, but they only let you vote certain people. You know what I mean? They're kind of like, you got to vote for somebody that likes us. Like you got to vote for some that likes the religious hardliners. Like they only put hardliners in that you can vote for, and but you can't vote for the religious leader. Like he's the guy, he's in for life. Right. So it's a really fucked up system because, like, on one hand, you have to deal with this president who kind of handles all of the day-to-day interior, political type of work, but the guy that's actually calling the shots, is just like in a mosque somewhere inside of Iran, and who knows what, things he wants done, etc. So anyway, my point is that, like, it's a very complicated system, and as the United States, because we kind of created this problem, it's not necessarily great for us to try to go in and say fix it, because I don't think the people there historically like us because what we did originally. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we want to give you democracy, and be like, yeah, well, thanks, we had that. You guys fucked us.
Right.
So, but at the same time, this has been going on for a long time now. I mean, this has just been going on and on and on, and between Israel and Iran, it's going to come to a head. I mean, it's just going to come to a head at some point.
It has to.
I mean, it really does. Like, Israel or Iran, has rockets. They're enriching uranium. They're eventually going to try to get a nuclear bomb, or they're going to at least, have this like serious missile strike capability to like lay waste to Israel, and Israel's not going to stand for it. They're not going to wait around for it. So, they're going to probably move against them at some point, and we're going to get involved in it at some point. But I tell you, this is the weirdest one, because it's just been going on and on and on. Like, that Saddam Hussein stuff just seemed like a footnote in a book or something.
I mean, if you think about it, it's been going on since we were kids.
But yeah, before we were kids, right? I mean,
yeah,
I wasn't born when Eisenhower was around and shit like that.
Well, no, but I mean, ever since I can remember being like in kindergarten and hearing about Iranian this and Iranian this, oil this, and then you got the hostage standoff thing in the 80s or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there was always something. It was just like I didn't know when I was a kid. I was just like, oh my God, I don't know who these people are, where they're from or whatever, but they're horrible. Like, who are
right? That's what you get in your head, right? But they're. Maybe they're not, I mean, maybe.
Right. They're just doing their thing.
I mean, part of it is like, I think it's governments, right? Both governments are bad. People are okay. They're trying to live their lives, and that's just how every situation tends to be, the people are all right. Except those people in, Croatia. No, I'm just kidding. The people are fine, but yeah, I don't. It's fucked up, man, and
yeah.
I don't know.
They're always in it. Whenever you hear they'll be like, and tonight in serious news, you're like, oh boy, here we go. And then right. if they said something else, you'd be like, oh, something else somewhere.
Right. It is weird though. You're totally right. When they start talking about some place you never heard of before, like here we are in Sierra Leone where the rebels are fighting something, and you're like, where is that? Sierra something. What?
And then somebody comes out and goes, that's 2 miles outside of Iran or whatever, something. No.
Yeah. And now back to Iran. So Iran today, blah, blah, blah. No, and I realize there's a lot of history there. And I know that, but it just seems like Iran is not a world power. They don't have a lot of money, and they're just a thorn in our side over in the Middle East. And it's also another complication of it, right, is that you have that divide between the Sunni and the Shia Muslims. And some of that, I think, is more or less a political divide. It is a religious divide, but it's not like the differences in the two religions are very minor, right? It seems like something that like the mullahs could all get together and like sort of solve or something, without bloodshed. Right. So it seems like it's a lot more politically driven, but what happens is you have one faction inside of Iran and the other faction is in Saudi Arabia, right? And they don't like each other. And so, and Saudi Arabia has a lot of money, that they can blow on all kinds of stuff. But they don't have a huge population. And I would say that they have a lot of, backwards cryptic things too. They want women to not drive and all that stuff. Although I think maybe recently they eased some of that, but I think it's still, there's a lot of, repression against women and that kind of thing there. And, in a lot of ways, I think Iran is a bit more modern in some respects in that way. They're both backwards, but they don't like each other. And so there's like this sort of like, we're trying to like keep the peace between those two nations as well, right? Because like basically if Iran gets the capability of making a nuclear weapon, Saudi Arabia has said they're going to get a nuclear weapon too. And the way they'll get it is they'll buy them from Pakistan because they're allied with Pakistan and Pakistan has them, and they'll just buy them from them. And because Pakistan needs the money, and then Saudi Arabia will have nuclear weapons too. And it's just a matter of time before like Qatar has them and all these other nations that I don't even know. Right. And then you have this whole nuclearized peninsula with people that absolutely hate each other with, not necessarily good checks and balances on when to use these things. And so it's really, it's a mess, man. I don't know. I don't know.
You may not remember this. But I obviously do because, well, I'm weird. But one time back in the day, back in high school, you and I were walking to my house.
Right.
And we cut through North Olmsted Park. And I don't know why this sticks out to me, but you said, like, as we were walking, you spent the whole time explaining to me like similar, like almost exactly like
geopolitics or something.
Where you're just like, look, if Bush, if he does this, and then and then if whatever Mondale or whoever, I don't even know who the hell is it. You know what I mean? You're like saying you're talking like we're just walking, and you're like, and then all these guys, it doesn't matter. Iran is just going to come in and they're just going to blow everybody up because Iran. And I don't remember the gist of the story, and I don't remember everything that you were saying, but it was along the same lines. Right. It was just like, see, even in high school, we were talking about like
we were,
our whole lives, you know what I mean?
Our whole lives, yeah. It's because it's always been a thing. Like Iraq was a thing when we were in high school at the end.
Why can't everybody just be cool? You know,
I don't.
Everybody's got to be so hard. Everybody's got to. I'm the tough guy. I don't care. You're going to die just like I am. Eventually.
Well, you know, like one of the things, like one of the. Okay, so like that's a great point, and let's talk about because I think about this stuff too, and I'm just everybody out there listening. Again, we don't take sides on this show. We're just kind of talking free form here. So we're not joining a political rally or telling you to do anything. This is just us talking. You know, you're welcome to listen to our conversation, and it's just nonsense. But like take North Korea, right? So Trump has this thing where he goes and he talks to Kim Jong-un, and I actually thought that was a good idea, right? Because you want your politicians to be politicians. You want them to talk to each other. That's what we want them to do. It doesn't have to be in person. Fine, you can pick up the phone, I guess, and learn Korean and talk to them that way or whatever. But politicians need to talk to each other. If you have a politician that's like, I'm not talking to them at all. Like, I don't see the point in it or whatever it is. You're not doing your job. Like, I can't do that in my job. I can't just be like, look, I'm not talking to the audit department because they just don't get what I'm doing. Like they're not helping. You know what I mean? Like, all right, Kevin, you're fired, you know, like it's ridiculous. So I get that. But my point is that like, you know, we have this sort of attitude and I know that North Korea has done all kinds of bad shit. Don't get me wrong. But we have this sort of attitude to them where we're like telling them, hey, you guys need to get rid of your nuclear weapons and then, you know, we'll like ease our sanctions off of you. But you got to get rid of all your nuclear weapons first, right? And it's like, you know, if you look at the history of the United States, we're not great at keeping our word on things. You know what I mean? and it's like, you know, I think Kim Jong-un was more or less like, you know, can we do this in like stages? You know, can we do like X, Y, and Z? And then, you know, you guys could, you know, ease off, you know, something. And that way I can go to my people and be like, hey, you know, see, we're getting some progress out of this. Now let's go ahead and close up, you know, shut down something else, because it's got to be very hard as a political leader. Even somebody that's an absolute dictator like he is, to be able to convince your people that you spent all this time making this thing to sort of keep your country sort of safe. And then you're going to turn around and be like, all right, let's all dismantle it because the enemy said that, you know, they'll let us, you know, sell our iron and our coal and stuff if we play by their rules. So just go ahead and take it all apart. You know what? Like, I think we become this impenetrable wall. And we, you know, because we just think that, you know, they have to do what we say or else. And it's like, it should be a little bit more give and take. I think, I'm not saying like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like we should take all the sanctions off and let them run because, they're bad. They've done bad shit and they'll do bad shit again. But like their people, are often starving over there and things like that. Like maybe you could work it out with the food thing, like maybe they could eat, like we could work out the maybe some medical stuff that they could heal. I mean, people are like, well, then they give all the food to the military and the medicine is all given to them. Well, all right, but it's still people. Like, most of North Korea is military. Like the whole thing is a military operation. Like you just give them food. Like, let's work the food out. Let's work out the medicine. Let's, yeah, you know what I mean? But too often we're just real like our way or the highway. And I don't think our system is always the right system. Now, like Russia invades the Ukraine, right? And takes over part of the Ukraine. That to me is where you kind of have to draw the line and put sanctions down on the country and maybe be like, you got to get out of there or else, or the Ukraine has to agree to just give it over to Russia. But when you're doing land grabs and invading another country, that's a different thing, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're just like the North Koreans and stuff, where you're just being threatening most of the time, and yeah, there's been some targeted assassinations. I'm sure the United States has done similar things, and we just don't hear about them. And there's been, they made like they made counterfeit money for a while and used that. But like every nation, has all kinds of crimes that they commit. So it's hard to like just judge but even if you do, you're never going to get to like a kind of normal, a normal relationship with these people, because they're never like, we've sanctioned these guys forever. I mean, the war was in like the 50s, man, and they're still in power. Like where is the tipping point? Like when is the revolution going to happen? It's not, so we have to like, what else can you do? Do you just keep it on? Like I don't get it. I don't get it. We didn't the United States didn't overthrow the Soviet Union or whatever. They just were so incompetent. They ran out of food, and the people had to walk in and walk on Moscow because they didn't have food in the stores, And
right.
At some point you're just like, all right, you guys, look, you don't even care about getting shot anymore. It's like, shoot me or I starve to death,
Either way, whatever.
Right. So fix it. But I don't know. I think our politics in the United States, like, all around isn't very good. Like, in the sense of we're too arrogant at times. And I don't mean like we're wrong. Like we're the symbol of democracy, and we kind of do maintain a level playing field with the countries that are our friends, like we're not worried about like invading Germany anymore or France or any, the European countries, we friends with Australia, most of South America is cool with us. And that kind of thing. But, with certain countries, yeah, we suck at negotiating, basically. I mean, we're just not good at it or something, like, because it's too political. It's easy for whoever is in power to just be like, we're not dealing with them, or they have to comply to what we want. And we're not giving them an inch until they do the right thing and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't trust anybody, I mean, like we did that nuclear agreement with Iran, speaking of Iran, and, Obama had that whole thing figured out. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad, right? But we made an agreement. We signed an agreement. The country had agreed, and this was the way. And Trump came in and was like, we're not going to do that anymore. You know what I mean? So like, if you were going to deal with the United States and you were going to have these kind of unilateral agreements and things like that, you'd just be like, yeah, this is only good until the next president,
Right.
Like this is good for maybe, the next 4 years. And then I don't know, maybe you guys won't keep up your end of the bargain,
Right.
And I don't know. Ask the American Indian, right? I guess.
Yeah. They know all about it.
American treaty, no good. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about it, But you're right. We've always talked about this kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, that's just the thing, though. It's been going on that long.
Yeah, it has been going on that long. I mean, we've seen the Soviet Union collapse while we've been kids. Like that's all been changed, right?
Unless David Hasselhoff sing on the wall.
Vietnam ended right, shortly after we were born, and it ended in 1975. And, we did the Gulf War kind of twice, really. We did the war in Afghanistan, which is kind of still going on. And then, we've had other operations. We invaded Panama. We invaded Grenada. We bombed Serbia. All this shit, but Iran, it's like the Energizer Bunny. Just boom, 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 boom. Just keeps going, man. Coming. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying, again, folks, I'm not thinking we should go over there. I don't want to have a war with them. I don't like war in general. I think politicians need to work shit out. And I think it can be done. Like, I just feel like both sides are just, it's politics and gamesmanship, but there's a whole lot of innocent people being killed because of it.
Right.
It's really fucking dumb. Like, I don't get it. Right. I don't get it, man. But we got apartment buildings falling down. Where's our infrastructure money? Come on. Mm-hmm. Let's fix these buildings and bridges and shit. Like in Cleveland, they had that bridge, that and they were like, they found that something wrong with that bridge at one point, right? They went down there and they were like, yeah, this bridge is fucked, and they were like, oh, we got to change the traffic flow, like immediately. Like it's going to be one lane on this bridge that goes to Cleveland. And it's like a main bridge, and because I guess that bridge nobody had looked at it in a long time or something. I don't know exactly what was wrong with it, but it was
falling apart.
Yeah, it was just bad. Somebody realized it was bad.
Well, something like that, something like a bridge. You got cars going over it every day. It's like constantly moving.
Well, there's bolts and things moving against each other, right? I get that. And that's also like, exposed to air. You're going to get corrosion.
Yeah, and it's mostly concrete. That stuff just falls out, and that's what was happening. That's that bridge goes over the Metro Parks, the one by the airport.
Yeah,
is it or not? No, that's the one you're talking about. Is Valley View, right?
Well, no, I was talking about the one downtown, that steel bridge that was downtown.
The Guardian with the Guardians.
So it was the Memorial. No, that's the Detroit one. But it's anyway. It's the one when you're going in. Yeah,
I'm talking the one by the airport that goes over the Metro Parks, Brook Park Road.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you go into Metro Parks and you drive underneath that bridge, there's netting. They got nets.
Yeah, to catch the rocks and stuff. Yeah.
To catch everything falling off of it. It's just like, really? Like,
right.
How about you just fix it?
Like somebody's looking at it and being like, yeah, that's fucking going to come down. But
yeah. I always have, and that's what, speaking of not knowing what's going to happen when it's going to happen, I used to be like, when I drive through the Metro Parks, which we all know I used to do a lot of, and, there were times when I'd be coming under that bridge and I would like look up as I'm driving under it because I didn't want some dude to just land on my car.
Right.
Because I'm like, you know what? Knowing my luck, I just drive through here. And that's when the guy jumps off the bridge. And he's going to land on my car as I'm driving through.
Yeah, like you got the sunroof open. He just falls into the seat next to you. Hey, what's up? What the fuck? Yeah, no. Yeah, a lot of people do jump over there, right? That's a thing, too. Like the whole jump into your death off a bridge. Like people do that with the Golden Gate Bridge all the time and stuff. It's like, that's
symbolic.
Doesn't that hurt, though? I mean, don't you? I mean, like you're going to kill yourself. Like, just do the balloon time thing with the bag and the hose. Like, don't do the fucking bridge jump. Like, that's going to fucking suck, man. I don't know. It seems weird to me. Like, I don't want to, because what if it didn't work right? You
landed in the water. You did a perfect dive. You cut the water perfectly like an Olympic swimmer.
But maybe all your bones are broken, but they managed to get you out, and then you're in a fucking hospital,
Right.
Fucking tubes in you and shit. You're still alive. You can only see out of one eye. You're like the one video. Moving your head up and down. Kill me,
Yeah. Morse code. Kill me.
Fucking awful. Or like you said, maybe somebody just bangs into your car and fucking falls off. Oh, it's just sore and shit. And you're like, what the fuck? My suicide didn't work. That would be depressing too, wouldn't it? Like you're trying to kill yourself and God's like, dope.
Yeah.
I guess it's not your day. It's not going to happen today. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not making fun of mental. I mean, I think it is a lot of mental illness, and you know, I get it, but it's to me personally, it just seems like that's I wouldn't even want to shoot myself because there's people that do that and they end up fucking in a coma in the hospital and shit, you know, and who knows what that's like.
I didn't know it would go through my head without hitting my brain.
Right. It might totally be like a Twilight Zone episode where you're like fucking in a coma, but totally conscious the whole time. You know what I mean? Right. Bored out of your mind.
Oh my God. That'd be the worst.
Just frozen, just staring in the same place, but conscious. I'd
be so angry at everybody.
You'd go fucking nuts, you know? It'd be fucked up. Yeah. That's
screaming at people in my head.
That kind of shit. Yeah. That shit freaks me out. Just getting old freaks me out. Like, I don't want none of that. We talked about that before, but ugh.
Yeah. Dumb.
Yes, dumb. No, thank you.
That's why we stay so young. Talking about stupid nonsense.
Just going to stay active as long as I can. I'm going to do everything I can. But if I get to that point where, like, I don't know, I can't enjoy any of it anymore, then then I'm going to, that's it. Or I'll just, you know, there's saving graces to it. I certainly don't want to die of a heart attack because that would be a little bit too sudden, you know, but if I get to be like 80 years old or something, or 90, or if I get that lucky and then they're like, you have, you know, inoperable cancer or something. I mean, I'll be 90, you know what I mean? I'd be like, that's fair. Like, I mean, like that sucks, but what else am I, you know, there's some books I didn't get to read or something. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get to listen to some new tunes. Kiss didn't come out with their 90th album or something. But you know what I mean? Like that's everybody's ideal thing, but it doesn't work out that way for most of us. No. I mean, it's not probably going to, I mean, there's not a lot of 6'4", 90-year-olds walking around. I'm not long for this world, I think. Circulation problems and shit.
Damn.
But yeah, no, it's fucked up. Yeah. So, and otherwise in the news, I don't know anything else really.
Yeah, we're coming up to our cutoff time anyway. So
yeah, a couple more minutes. People talk about that Delta variant, but I guess with the COVID. But if you got the shot, I guess you're all right. So things are bad in other countries. So I guess Australia just locked down again, and South Africa just locked down again. And then Red Troll talked to me. She just got her second shot up in Canada. So that's how far behind Canada is, you know?
Yeah.
That they're just getting vaccines now and stuff. So it's like it's still a big problem around the rest of the world, basically. And probably in parts of Ohio, because I think like only 40% of Ohio got vaccinated.
Right.
If you've never been to Ohio, like Cleveland is like a I don't think it's liberal. I would say it's just more moderate, I guess, of a city or something. You know, it's got both sides of it. But if you go down south, it's just banjos.
Oh yeah,
and, you know,
Amish people,
Emmett Otter's jug band and stuff. Like you know. So they're not getting witch doctor shit to them. They're not doing any of that. It's like fuck that. I saw this thing like you know, because that building collapsed, and you know who that John McAfee is? You heard about him? Like he's just that antivirus guy that like he was he ran away at one point to Costa Rica and lived there or something, and then like he was wanted by the United States for doing something, or I don't know, embezzlement or some shit. But he was in a Spanish prison, and somehow I don't know why he was there, some other crime. But he made this, you know, famous antivirus thing. And then recently he died because like probably killed himself in jail. They found him dead because he was about to get extradited to the United States. And so he just recently died, and somebody had made a Photoshop, like a fake Twitter from John McAfee, you know, that said like, I have left a bunch of recordings and important papers at this such and such address at my one Miami home, right? And it's like, you know, the cross streets or whatever was on there, and people were like, "That's the building. They see it was destroyed on purpose, you know, to cover up John McAfee's. You know, he's got all the recordings and the paperwork. They blew it up, you know." And it's like, man, can you people like at least do a little research? You know, like it's just, God, man, it's fucking crazy that there's people that just look at something on Facebook and take it as gospel and shit or whatever they're looking on. Like, do all
They don't even think about it. They read it and then they react.
Yeah, they're just immediately
just
think it's true. Like, it's true. I saw it online. Like,
I used to do that a lot. Like people like with Facebook posts where I would just start typing. I used to be like, oh yeah, well, and then I would stop and be like you said, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. And then you know what I mean? And then it's like you start clicking on stuff and you like Google search it, and it's just like anytime you Google search something and the first thing comes up, it says Snopes. You're just like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, but then there's people like they're like, we don't like Snopes. Like, Snopes is bullshit or something. And it's like, well, okay, like, I guess you don't like to get it. But if you read the article, they point to all the factual information, like where they're getting the facts from. So you could tie it together. No, Snopes is biased. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, but they'll believe the random person that wrote the article to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
They're totally with that. They're totally with that person. But the whole group of people that like are out there for the check or the fact checking.
Right.
You know,
not following them. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know. I don't believe in those guys. But this dude, let me see. What's his name? His name's Rob. You know what I mean? Like, he's some reporter from Detroit. It's like some guy.
It's a fucking meme on Facebook. It has no nothing. You know, it's a smart looking video that somebody made and posted up and everything. Like, do some research, people. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. It's basically, I'll just call this one our political show.
Oh boy.
It's not really, but
no.
Just some loose talking. We'll be back next week. If you've got any ideas or anything you'd like us to talk about, do feel free to write into the show. We're always looking for ideas because sometimes I'm working and I just don't, my brain doesn't come up with anything. And Don's always pretty free form too.
I just show up and talk.
So, yeah, but if you've got anything that you're just curious about or you want to hear us talk about, if it's something we understand, don't ask us about like circuit breakers and shit. We're not going to, we don't fucking know. But write to Oblast at vgn.us and we'll check it out.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Thanks, folks.
Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast at vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.